So, Greg, you and my brother, y'all are the only two people I know that carry so much music with you, right? Now, I
Yeah.
have a few albums with me. I have my Plex server, right? Plex server goes down. I have two or three albums to get me through boredom, and that's about it. But you by far have the most music with you on at all times stored locally on your device. So, what are you up to now? Let's share with everyone how much music do you have taking up space on your device?
Okay, I did not look on purpose, so we could do this live. I'm gonna start with my watch. Why do I have music on my watch? Well, it's kind of a carryover from when I used to have cellular turned on and I'd go for walks or bike rides
Right.
without without my phone, right? So,
Yep.
I have music on my watch. I have 856 songs saved on my watch.
Okay. That
So
is a lot for
it's
a walk.
64 gigs of capacity and I have 36 gigabytes left.
Okay. That is pretty good, but not outrageous, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't think. That is still pretty good. That's pretty hefty on the watch.
So it's one, two, three, four, five playlists. Yeah. Plus all
Yeah.
my recent music, plus any music that I've pinned. That all gets automatically synced over to my watch.
Yeah. Pretty
Okay.
extensive, but not outrageous. Now,
All
what
right.
about the phone? This is where I think we're all going to be floored.
Okay. So there's a couple of ways I can approach this. I'm going to go into general about, and I'm going to tell you that I only have 48 gigs of space left on my iPhone, and
Uh,
I don't store video on there. Well, it says I've got 586 videos, but that's mostly in my camera roll,
Camera
right?
roll,
Like
yeah,
I'm not storing movies on here, at least not very many.
yeah.
Okay. This says 2,134 songs.
Wow.
Okay,
Okay.
but let's see how much space this takes up. Now, this is going to be lower than you think because remember I had to swap phones? Well, one of the things that it
Right.
doesn't do is it doesn't automatically download all of the music, all of the media you had on it before.
Okay,
So
you have
you
to
have to
manually do
manually go
that.
in and do that. So 2,100 songs, 55 gigabytes worth of music on my phone.
Yeah. That is a lot. That is
It's
a
probably
lot.
half of the last time. Yeah, it's
Remember
probably
when
half.
now I know 128 gigabytes is now, kind of a standard for phones, but remember when we had, 64 gigabyte capacity? Um, yeah, that would have been mostly eaten up by music with you. So pretty
Yeah.
good, pretty good. And again, my brother is another one. He stores a lot. Now, again, I have um, a few albums, a few songs that I like, things like that. But it's mostly just to get me through the day, get me through that boredom because I depend so heavily on my Plex amp, my Plex server that I run here with my personal music. So yeah, yeah, that is pretty cool.
All
So
right.
this oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so if this is something you're interested in, then stick around because this is two grandpas talking tech, retro versus modern edition. I'm your host, Greg Cunningham.
And I'm your host, Jay Benjamin. And this is going to be a fun one because we already had an episode topic lined up to where we were going to talk about Walkmans versus MP3 players, right? And we're still going to keep that on the list because I think that's going to be a good topic to talk about, right? But what I wanted to talk about more so is music on the go, right? How have we gotten to this point to where Greg has 55, 55 gigabytes of music. How did we get to this point?
Dude, how
Well,
many CDs would that be? So
that would be a
21,
ton.
20. I got to do the math now, right? 2,100 songs, and a CD averaged what, 13 songs?
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. We'll say that at average.
162. That's 162 albums worth of music
Yeah.
on my phone.
Yeah. Just crazy. Just crazy. So our love for music didn't just start with the ability to carry all of this music with us, right? We've always loved music back from when we were wee youngins. You know what I mean? So how do we manage back then? So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the Walkman. We're going to talk about MP3s and things like that, but we're just going to talk about how did we listen to music throughout all of these eras in our lives, right? How do we take our music with us? Because it really wasn't that easy. You know, we had tapes and all that. Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but if you're into that sort of thing, stick around because this is going to be a fun one.
All right. So, Jason, how do you want to start it?
So let's just go back to the earliest that we can remember. Well, so I say the earliest, right? Because we can talk about 8 tracks, we can talk about old records and stuff like that, but those really weren't as portable, right? Now,
Yeah.
eventually they had portable, 8 track players and record players, but those were more stationary, right?
Yep.
Because 8 track players were more so in the vehicle, right? They were built into your vehicle. They had home units and things like that. Crazy expensive at the time because that was the new technology over records, right? But records, throughout all of its forms, it really didn't get portable until it was on the way out, right? I don't
Yeah.
think there were portable record players until tapes already existed,
Yep.
right? It was kind of that last ditch effort. And some of our older listeners or whatever, chime in, get in the comment section and let us know if we're missing some things in between. But my first experience with portable music would be recording those mixtapes of the radio station and taking them to my friend's house and popping in that tape and listening to it then. What about you, Greg?
So, I've got two memories that have come to mind. So, um, oh man, I'm going to really get myself in trouble on this. But I remember one year for Christmas, I got a silver boombox and several tapes, including one with Olivia Newton John. Yes, I grew up in a weird
Right.
music kind of family. Um, and I think it was that and Beastie Boys were the two tapes that I got. So talk about
Yeah,
opposite ends
that's a
of stuff,
difference. Yeah.
right? I can still hear "No sleep till," dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So anyway, so I got the boombox and I had the tapes, and yes, I would do the mixtapes and all that kind of stuff. And you carry it around on your shoulder because I thought I was a
Yep.
cool, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's memory number one. I had that, and then I got an add-on to that. I got a stationary one that had the record player on top and the dual cassette decks, right? Which was the
Yep.
cool thing because then you could record from one to the other, all that kind of cool stuff. But
Hmm.
maybe my favorite memory with tapes. So my first car, when I turned 16, my grandpa had been saving a 1966 Toyota Corolla for me.
Hmm.
So my grandma had gotten a new car. She had gotten a Buick, and he had parked it in the garage and said, "Yep, it's yours." And I was like 12 or something like that when she got that new car. He's like,
Right.
"Nope, I'll save this for you." And he would take it out about once a week and drive it a little bit and put it back in the garage. And grandma's brand new car had to be parked outside the garage. So, first car was a 66 Toyota Corolla. When I sold that thing to the junkyard, it had 300,000 miles on
Wow.
it. And the floorboards had rusted through, so it was like Fred Flintstone car. Like I
Yeah.
could put my feet
Yeah.
down, and I remember I would go to lift weights during sports seasons at like 5 o'clock in the morning in
Hmm.
Utah in the middle of the winter with a foot of snow on the ground, and how cold that car was because it didn't matter what the
Right.
heater was doing because the cold was coming up from the floorboards. But anyway, that car only had an AM radio.
Okay.
And so I put a tape deck in the jockey box wired it in. I still to this day don't know how I figured out how to wire it in because that's not me, but my dad did not help me. I wired in the tape deck. And so
Hmm.
I had the portable tape deck or it was a car tape deck, right? So I mounted it
Okay.
in the jockey box, ran the wires back through, blah, 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 blah. And there would be tapes rolling around all over in there. And then I had a thing of cassette tapes that would sit on the floor underneath the passenger seat, right? So
Yeah.
that was one of the coolest memories that I had about cassette tapes
Yeah.
was being able to do that.
Okay.
That was the cool thing. So I'm 16 years old. I've got an AM radio, not cool. Put the tape deck in the jockey box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, when we talk about portable music, there were no portable players for us. We were literally hauling the home stereo to the friend's house. I remember asking my mom, "Mom, can I?" Because we're gonna sit outside and we're gonna listen to music and all of that. And that's what kids did during the summers, right? We just hang out, listen to music. So, but there was no Bluetooth speaker that we could just set, right? We had to haul. My friend, you grab the two speakers. I'll grab this unit. You know, my brother, you grab the wires and stuff. And here we are. We're going down the way, and we get there. We hook everything up, and everyone had their tapes that they recorded all day, the radio, right? That you recorded your music from the radio, or if somebody was lucky enough to have an album or something like that. And that was it. That was some of my best memories in the summer. Everyone bring your mixtape that you recorded, all your music from the radio, tried to skip over the commercials and things like that. And yep, we would just play it and hang out. So my first experience of portable music wasn't portable at all. It was the home stereo with the big giant speakers. The speakers were like this big.
Yeah.
Everyone grab a speaker and carry it down the way. So that was my introduction into portable music. So
The speakers, they were the kind, right, where you had to twist the bare wires at the end
right,
and
because they were
put them in the
always
little
frayed.
latches.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. That was good times, good times. So when things started getting smaller and more portable, we were all for it. We were all for it because we were wanting to take our music with us, right? The whole
Yep,
entire industry, everyone on the planet wanted to take their music with them, and um, that's this next era, and that's the Walkman era, right? Sony came out with a device, a way for people to carry their music with them, although not as convenient as things are now, but still in a convenient way, and that was with the Sony Walkman.
yep.
So, Greg, did you own a Walkman?
I owned probably a couple. So, but the one I remember the most, so I went on a mission, right? I was 19 years old and was asked to go serve in Brazil on a mission. And we were allowed to take music players and church approved music, right? You couldn't just take,
Okay,
you weren't supposed to just take anything. So
right.
I remember there were a couple of splurge purchases that I did. One was a watch that once I got to Brazil, I decided I better not wear around. It was a really nice Seiko watch, right? That looked super
Right.
nice. And then I was walking around the streets of Brazil going, yeah, I probably shouldn't wear this watch. So then I bought
Yep,
like
at all.
a five real cheapo watch and had to replace it like every 3 months or something like that. That's what I wore around. But that was one splurge purchase. But the other splurge purchase that I did was actual Sony brand. So this is another one of those things like you got to Google it. But it's Google is not the action. Google is the company that allows you to search, but we all call it you Google it, right?
Right.
Which means you're searching
Right.
for something on the web. Walkman, there were all kinds of brands making portable tape players, but everybody just called it Walkman because Sony
Right.
was the thing. And so I never had the Sony brand until I went on my mission and I splurged and bought a Sony Sport Walkman, was gray and yellow, mostly yellow with some gray around it,
Mhm.
and wired headphones. Back in our day, all the headphones had to plug in. Yeah.
All of it.
And
Just like this.
but the cool thing about those headphones is they were one of the first ones that were the sort of the slide in your ear kind of early edition earbud kind of
Okay.
headphones. So they were
Right.
super low or super simple, sounded amazing because it was Sony and they did a great job. So battery powered, I can't remember if it was double A's or C's that powered the whole thing. But
Hmm.
I took that and I took tapes that had Christmas music and Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, which back then was called the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, and church hymns. So I had this whole like, remember those books that we used to have? They had the cassettes in them that they would set down in the plastic that had the little pokey thing. So I had
Yep.
a book that had
Yep.
all of those tapes, and I took that Walkman and I used it my entire mission, and it still worked. It actually might still be in my mission trunk of all the stuff that I brought home. I ought
Really?
to go look.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it worked even afterwards, even after we had moved off of tapes and gone to like portable CD players, which I know we're going to talk to. But that was that thing. If they would make anything as durable as that thing was,
Hmm.
that things would last forever because it lasted years. And I was not easy on that thing. And Brazil, if y'all don't know, is hot and it's humid and you don't escape either of those things. And that thing
Yeah.
was just a rock. It was so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember having a Walkman, but it wasn't my first one. The first one I had was, I want to say it was Casio, I believe was the brand. And I got it from, I want to say it was one of my older brother or one of my cousins or something like that. It was in rough condition when I got it, right? You had to hold the door a certain way. Otherwise the tape wouldn't play. So you almost had to squeeze it till eventually I wised up. And when we had tape, or I can find some tape, because it wouldn't last long, right? Because every time you change it, by the third time you change it, the tape would no longer stick. Rubber bands, for some reason, wouldn't work. It had to be tape because you had to put pressure on a certain part of the door. The part that holds the tape closed, you had to put pressure on a certain part. So it was portable, but it wasn't convenient because you had to literally like walk around like I'm walking and I'm holding it like this while I'm listening to music, but it would play. Eventually, saved up enough to get, again, that one wasn't a Sony Walkman because like you said, Sony Walkman just became synonymous with all of the different portable tape players because that was the most popular one. We seen it with iPod. They called every
Yep.
MP3 player iPod and things and so on. Um, every tablet now is called an iPad, even though it's a Amazon tablet or something like that. So Walkman was just a name, but there were so many different brands, and I remember that Casio one. Uh, and my next one, I don't remember what it was, but I do remember when I finally got my hands on a Sony Walkman, and it sounded awesome. It didn't have the earbuds like you were saying, the part that goes in the ear. It still was that cheap foam that went over the edge, and they were about the size of a quarter, and the part that goes over your head was metal and it would just stick right there.
Yep.
No such thing as noise cancellation. You heard everything. Every
Yep.
car, every honk on the road when someone would drive by. And I think it took like 6 AA batteries, if I remember right. I had to look it up. I purposely didn't look anything up because again, I wanted to talk about these memories and
Right.
stuff that we had. But yeah, I remember that. And the same applied. It was all just tapes that we recorded over from the radio, all of the hit songs that you wanted. You would try to do one genre of music on one side, the other genre you wanted on the other side. And yeah, I always kept like 2 or 3 tapes with me. And that was my to-go music. It wasn't much, but it's what we had at the time.
I gotta ask you a sidebar question. Did you make mixtapes for the girls?
So I don't remember making when we hang out, everyone would bring their music, and I remember like some people saying like, "No, don't let so and so play their music because it's always gonna be girl music, or it's gonna be love music, or it's gonna be too
So
much of this or something like
you
that." So,
you didn't have that one special girl that you really wanted to impress, so you made her a mixtape?
not with the tapes, but
Okay.
MP3 playlists. Yeah, that
Okay.
does come up. That
Alright. No, I remember that going back and forth with tapes, and the other cool thing about having the Walkman on my mission, for example, and
Mhm.
I had a tape recorder as well, so I could record tapes and send them home. But I would get tapes. So I had dated my wife before I left on my mission,
Mhm.
and she would send me tapes, and my mom would send me tapes, and so that was kinda cool to be able to to do that because CDs were out at the time.
Right.
So that was the CD era too. But transporting CDs back and forth to Brazil would have been a non thing. I mean, my mom had to mail me shoes one time because I had a pair of shoes die,
Hmm.
and she had to mail them one shoe at a time because if she
Because
had
of
mailed them
customs
together,
or
no, if she had mailed them together, somebody would have stole them.
oh, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, so but anyway, so CDs came out about that same time, but the problem I had with CDs, I don't know how many actual CDs I ruined in a portable CD player because it's a spinning disc and you got
Right.
that little laser down there reading it. And if you bump the CD player wrong,
Yeah.
then the CD tilts and is going at high speeds and runs across that little laser lens and gets scratched. So portable CD players were a great idea, but they weren't like you could clip them on your belt like you could the Walkman and look cool. You
Yeah.
clip that
Yeah.
portable CD player on your belt and you were listening to I mean, it was skipping
Yeah.
all over the
Yeah.
place. And so,
S-
the medium for the storage of the data was great. CDs were way better than tapes.
They
Um,
were.
but the portable technology around CD players was not better than the portable technology around
Yeah. Yeah.
tapes.
It wasn't. But so, and that was the next era we were going to talk about was the portable CD players. And like you mentioned, they had that overlap period where just the old school, the retro was better than the bleeding edge, the modern technology. But like everything else, eventually portable CD players got there with the shockproof
Yeah.
and the actual units were more sturdier built. They can take drops and won't even skip a song and stuff like that. But by then, the next generation of music had already came out, which was
Yep.
MP3s. But
Yeah.
let's go back to portable CD players before we move on. I remember having a few, and they were not shockproof. You had to hold it very steady, right? It was portable, but I mean, you had to really almost like it goes back to my tape player that I was sitting there holding, the
Yeah.
door closed. You had to keep it flat or set it on a flat surface. So when we were at school, which I remember CD players becoming quickly banned from schools. They were not something that teachers would allow. There was a brief period where I remember having them at school, and then for the rest of my school years, I remember them not being allowed. But for that brief period, you would have to set it on your desk. And hopefully your earphones didn't get snagged or get tangled or something to where you pulled it or knocked it off of the desk because if
Yep.
it dropped, it was almost disposable.
Yeah.
Right. These things
Yep.
were very expensive, but one drop would totally destroy it. Or like you said, would ruin the lens to where no matter what CD you would put in, it would just skip.
Yep.
So, uh, but one of my core memories that I remember was me and my brother. We got um, it was a tape adapter. So what it was you put the tape in the tape deck in the car, and it
Uh-huh.
would allow you to listen to CDs.
That I
And
had.
oh, I remember, yeah, it was really cool, really cool bit of technology because there was no CD players in any vehicles that we can afford during the time.
Mhm.
We were lucky it had the tape deck in it and not an old 8-track player with to where we can buy that little tape adapter. And yeah, I remember riding around in the summers trying to avoid potholes and bumps because they would cause it would cause the CD to skip. But yeah, we would just play around and we would be all over town, just visiting our places and listening to our CDs. And it required us to carry a big binder like this,
Yep.
full of CDs. And they fit in there like cards. You would leave the case at home, but you would slide the CD in and
Yeah.
you would flip through it. Let's listen to this. Let's listen to that. And yeah, a lot of good times with that. So I would say for me, the portable CD era was just defined by that adapter to allow
Yeah.
us to be able to listen to it in the car or on the go. Other than that, yeah, the CD player was pretty useless until shockproof
Yeah.
CDs came out.
Well, and I think it was better technology in a car when you talk about portability because that's where they introduced like 6 CD changers, right? And at
Yes.
first, they didn't
Yeah.
come, but everybody was putting them in the trunk, right? You were
Yep.
putting the CD changer in the trunk, loading up your 6 CDs, and it was wired into the controls in the dash of the car. So I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
worked out great. And then you got CD players at home that were multi-disc CD changers, right? They had the ones that they were in a circular tray like the size of a
A
record, but
rotating
then
thing. Yep. We
yeah,
have
but
one of
then they had the
those.
ones that would stack, so it would just pull the one and put it in, and so I think that was a better application of portable CDs just because, if you were out going for a walk, if you're out walking with your friends or something like that, just the CD player just was not gonna the portable
Yeah.
CD player was only portable in the sense that you could take it somewhere and put it on another flat surface that was stable
Right.
to be able to
Be
listen.
stationary and listen
Yeah,
to your music there.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you reminded me too of a memory I just got of that the CD player at home where you had, I think it was like 3 to 4 discs. So, you think now, you can listen to like you with all of your songs on it. You can quickly go from one genre of music and the next song can literally be another genre. Back then, nope. If you wanted to listen to something else, and I remember specifically this CD player that we had was loud and clanky and took forever. So you would hear the disc stop. It would slow down to a certain point where it'll stop spinning, pick that disc up, rotate, and it was like
yep,
then it would stop, and then you would hear the disc fall in there, and then it would catch in the little spindle, and then once it spins up, then you can start. So maybe we're talking 50s, a minute and a half seconds later, you can
yeah,
you can
yeah.
finally start listening to your next song. There was no
If if
instantly switching.
if you remembered which CD was in which position, because
Right.
otherwise you just had to say, "Well, I think it's in this one," and then you go and that one would start, and then you're like, "Oh no, no, that's not the CD. Maybe it's in this one." And some of those were
Right.
6 CD changers, right? So if you didn't
Yeah.
remember which
Yeah.
order they were in and which one was coming up next, then it was like a crapshoot. Okay, do I press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? And you got to repeat that process until you get to where you want to go. And then
Yeah.
if you wanted to listen to the sixth song on the CD, then you had to try and skip forward, which was not as simple as tap, play that song or hit the
Yeah.
next song button. You had to actually do some work to get there. So, yeah, I do
Yeah.
remember all of
Yeah.
that. But, records were similar, except for with the record, you had to pick up the needle and try and line it up perfectly with the fatter line that said
Yeah.
this is the division between these songs. And you're looking at the album cover over here going, okay, 6. 1, 2,
Yep.
3,
Yep.
4, 5. I think that's 6. You got that little screech because you just scratched along. Oh, no, no, no. Wait a minute. I got to go back and do it again and drop it on there. Perfect. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Or just start listening to the song from where it picks up at. Like,
Yeah. You're
I'm
just
just
like,
gonna
okay.
listen.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So portable CDs was fun. It was an interesting period, right? Because tapes, like you said, stayed so strong and so dependable, so reliable most of the way through the CD era, the portable
Yeah.
CD era. Um,
Yep.
they had that overlap that you talked about, and the same thing with the MP3 era. Portable CDs really weren't useful until we were already buying MP3 players, right?
Yeah.
The MP3 period. Now, I'm not necessarily going to start for me with the the portable MP3 players, right? Because that was a big part of my childhood. But just the MP3 in general, right? You can buy a CD, and back then CDs were $9 to $12, right? I know I feel like an old man when my son brought a record from one of the artists he listens to, and he paid 50 something bucks for this record. Now I know vinyl is not a thing, right? It's more of a luxury now because kids look at it as retro and stuff. But even the CDs are like 25 to 30 bucks. But I'm not gonna rant about that. I remember buying my, you know, CDs from a record store. It's called Record City. It was a few miles away from the house, and I can bring them home to the computer and rip them from the CD and have MP3 players. And this period of my life sort of reminded me before MP3 players, reminded me of how we used to grab the stereo and grab the record player and or the tape deck and go to the friend's house and stuff. What we used to do was put all of our music on either a flash drive, a USB drive, and go over to the friend's house and plug it into his computer and play music and stuff
Yeah.
there. So I could pretty much have my entire music library with me, although and there was no such thing as 2 terabyte flash drives back then, right? We were talking, we were talking 8 gigabytes, no, what, 4 gigabytes, 8 gigabytes,
If
pretty
that, I
small.
mean, you were
If
probably
that,
talking
yeah,
about if you could get 5 or 6 albums on something like that, you were probably lucky.
right, right. So it
And
wasn't my
low
entire
quality,
music
right?
library.
Not high fidelity stuff,
Oh yeah, they were
barely
really low
listenable.
quality. Yeah, yeah. But we used to load our flash drives up. I would have 2 or 3. My brother would have a few, and my friends would have a bunch. And we would wherever we were hanging out at, and eventually stereos caught on, but that was a little later during this era too. But stereos had USB ports on them. Even cars, some cars had USB ports in them to where you can plug that in. So we were carrying around flash drives with our music and stuff on them. Um, and then out of nowhere, it seems MP3 players popped up or started popping up, right? And they were some of the bigger companies, right? I don't remember Sony, although I'm sure Sony had some at the time or had a version of the Walkman, but they were still making portable CD players and stuff. I remember my first one being RCA or JVC or something like that. It was really not a huge brand, but a brand known for something else. But um, yeah, and it would allow me to store 100, 150 songs on it, and then some of them had started getting little digital screens on it to where it would actually scroll the name of the song and all of that. Do you remember that brief little
No,
period?
so no, I mean, I'm not in this, and I don't know if that's because it was while I was on my mission that some of
Hmm.
those generic ones came up, but the first MP3 player I remember kinda skips into the next part, which is when I purchased the first one I remember. I may have had one before this, but so I did my mission, came home and got married. We had kids immediately, so it's not like I had a lot of money, right? I remember specifically going to the University of Utah bookstore so I could get the
Hmm.
education discount on a video iPod and having to fill out paperwork in order to get the
Really?
discount. Yeah. And so that is the first MP3 player that I can remember. That doesn't mean I didn't have one. I do remember all kinds of MP3 players on the computer, right? Where
Hmm.
you could put the music in, and I did do a bunch of that kind of stuff. But the first portable MP3 player that I remember getting was a iPod video.
Yeah, yeah. So not even the first iPod,
Not that I
right?
remember.
It was the iPod video. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So a lot of people don't realize because we said the name iPod just kind of took over the industry, and no matter what it was, people called it an iPod because that's how dominant Apple was when it released. Now, don't get me wrong, the iPod was probably a different animal than what an MP3 player was. Now they played MP3s, but Apple's plans for the iPod kind of took that in a whole new direction. It kind of changed the entire industry, right? The device that I'm talking about, and I can see the thought process or the evolution of it. Basically, it was those flash drives that we had that we were storing our music on. It just had a play button on it, and you can
Yeah.
stick a pair of earphones in it, right? There was no. This was before the screen and all of that, right? It was just a couple of buttons. There was maybe a start, a play button, and maybe like a skip button and a power button, and that's all it was basically a glorified MP3 or a glorified flash drive, right? It was a
Yeah.
USB flash drive that allowed you to play music. and they got better and they got better and eventually they started including little screens on them to where it would show the song name, or you can scroll through the library and stuff like that,
Yeah.
or see the file name and things. And they started playing other files instead of MP3s and stuff like that, WAV files and files that were more that offer better quality sound and stuff. But brief period, because by the time the iPod came on the scene, I mean,
Yeah.
it changed the way we listen to music.
Yeah. I just pulled up and looked at the original iPod, and it's the one that had the physical, like, raised click kind of buttons around the circle.
Yep,
And I
yep,
probably did have something like that. And then eventually it went to the touch scroll
yep, the
wheel and
touch
all that kind
capacitive
of
one,
stuff.
yep,
But the first one I
yep,
remember is the other. But, there was just something about that. And then also, if you think about the different generations of iPods, the mini, the shuffle, all of those kinds of things, I
mhm.
still, one of the classic things is Steve Jobs saying, "Do you know what that little pocket in your Levi's is for?" And everybody's like, "Huh?" He's like, and then he pulls an iPod out of it,
Right?
right? And
The
you're
little
like,
one, yep,
"Oh my," and it's 1,000 songs,
yep,
right? And
in your
it's just
pocket.
like, and I've heard some of the stories behind some of those, and they took a flyer. They were in Japan, and somebody said they had all these flash drives, and they thought, "Oh, you know what?" And they told them, "We'll buy them all."
Yeah,
And I mean, basically started that doing that stuff. And so, just like Walkman is synonymous with portable tape players,
yeah,
iPod is synonymous with portable MP3 players.
yeah, yeah. So we went through the iPod era, right? And again, it changed the way we listen to music, right? I think that at that point, when we ripped CDs, we would rip them through iTunes, because the version that Apple ripped the CD to was optimized,
Yep.
storage wise, space wise. You can pick the quality and things. You can make it lower quality to get more songs. Make it higher quality, you get
Yep.
less songs because they take up more space. Similar to the way things are now, of course, with pictures and videos and 4K videos. But um, it changed the way we started, ripping our music and organizing our libraries, because as screen technology got better and smaller, then we could start displaying album covers. And then we started wanting our track numbers and track names and all of
Yep.
that. So it just kind of changed the whole way that we manage music and stuff. Uh to the point where, do you remember when the iPod came out, the iPod Touch came out alongside the iPhone, and Apple figured out a way to charge us for the music that we already had, that we already
Yeah.
paid for, right? And that
Well,
was through a service um, that would allow us to store our own music. This was way before Apple Music and stuff like
yep.
that, but store our own music on the iPad and iPad, on the iPod and the
Yep.
iPhone and stuff like that. So
I still,
yeah,
so I love that service. I can't remember what it was called now, but I paid for it for a very, very long time because
yep,
I had a lot of different kinds of music. So I was into a lot of Broadway stuff and Josh Groban. And so, I know people
yep,
won't have the same taste in music as I have, but I can still remember putting a CD in my computer, having it pop up in iTunes, and the iTunes saying, "We recognize this CD. Here's all the information we
yep,
have on that CD." And me looking at it and going, "No, that's wrong." And then having to go type in all of the right information so that it got put into the library correctly. That was one.
right,
But then they evolved the platform to where it would go in and you would pop your CD in and it would say, "Hey, we've already got a digital copy of this. We'll just
yes,
add it to your
a
library."
high quality, a high
And it was
quality
always
copy.
higher quality. Right?
Yep,
And so that was the case, and then even when they came out with Apple Music and streaming, which they didn't do really until they got the Beats acquisition, until they bought Beats,
hmm,
but even after they did that, the library wasn't as complete as it is today. Today, you can find almost anything you wanna listen to in
right,
Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, but then they still allowed you to complement the Apple Music subscription with all of your stuff that you owned, and if they didn't have a digital copy on it, they would pull it up and you couldn't tell the difference. You couldn't tell if that was your music or if it was coming from Apple Music because your library was
yeah.
just all blended together.
Yeah. It was seamless. It was
Yeah.
seamless. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Yeah, and
it came in handy because especially the stuff that you no longer had to disc to.
yeah,
Because we leaned so heavily into MP3s, you're like, well, the disc got trashed or got damaged or something like that. So you no longer had the disc, but
yeah,
Apple was like, hey, we'll give you a higher quality of it because you already have this in your
right,
library. It's
right.
kind of a no-brainer. Yeah. Really
And
smart
I
move.
and I bought the first iPod Touch that came out because I was
Hmm.
on Verizon and couldn't get the iPhone, and so the closest thing I could get to the iPhone was the iPod Touch. So yeah, I had that super early on. So music has always been a huge part of my life. I did choir, I did musical
Yeah.
theater. My son is a professional musician. Talk about a range of music. He's a classical professional musician that still listens to all kinds of other stuff, right? So
Right.
music is such a huge part of our family and it always has been. So I care a lot about having good quality to music. One of the reasons I have 55 gigs worth of music on my iPhone is that I download it at the highest quality possible.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
I could turn that down and get that down to probably 20 gigs easy, but if it's lossless, I download it. And I know a lot of people say you can't hear the difference. I don't care. I want the best music I can listen to. And in the
Yeah.
Walkman era, that was the Sony Walkman. In
Yep.
the
It
MP3
was the
era,
best.
that
Hmm.
was the iPod, whichever version of the iPod that you want to get to. And then in today's world, that's a little different because Spotify's got basically the same library as Apple Music. And I think
Yeah.
Pandora is pretty close to all of that too. But then from a quality standpoint, I I have a lot of headphones because I don't mind listening to some things on lower quality. But man, if I really want to hear it, I put these on, right? If I
Yes.
really want to
Yeah.
hear every little tone and all of those kinds of things. So I care a lot about this. And at this point in my life, I pay for the streaming. I'm going to keep paying for the streaming. If I have to go up to the 512 version of the iPhone this next time because I'm running out of space so that I can store my music. And again, I only have about half of what I've had in the past sitting on
Yeah.
here. And so if I have to go up to do that, I'm going to pay the money to do it because it's worth it. Now, I haven't bought the new version of these headphones because I can't justify 500 bucks when I have the AirPods Pro 3. But every time they come out with the new version of the AirPods Pro, I buy them. Why do I buy them?
Yeah.
Because I use them all the time and I care about
Yeah.
listening to music in those things. So that's why I've had as good as I could get all along the way. And I'm super grateful for companies like Apple that have gone in this direction. I'm glad they bought Beats, right? And that they put in the music player and the streaming service. And it's one of those that would be one of the hardest subscriptions for me to give up to do it. There's a lot of other things I would give up before I would give up my music subscription.
Yeah. Do you subscribe to Spotify or just Apple Music?
Just Apple Music. It's got everything I want to listen to. I listen to a broad range of music, but I don't listen
Hmm.
to a lot of new music. So I don't do a lot of music discovery, but I'll
Right.
listen to everything from classical to opera to Christian to the only thing I really don't do is rap, to
Right.
country to there's just I listen to a broad range of that stuff, but I don't do a lot of new discovery even in those genres.
Right.
But I am always listening to music. My team right now is getting used to walking in my office and I've got AirPods. I finally found a use for my
And they
AirPods
have
Pro
to
2.
wave or something like that.
Yeah, my AirPods Pro 2 live in my desk drawer at the
Yeah.
office. So I just pop those in and I'm listening to stuff and I've got transparency on so that if they come in and start talking, I can hear them and they have to wait for me to hit the pause button and then we move on
Yeah.
because it's I always have music, mostly music, but also podcasts and stuff going. It's just a big part of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. So streaming, I have down here streaming and beyond. And we've already started talking about it. Um, because most people that are watching, we're living this era right now. Um, there's not really much we can say, right? You subscribe to what you subscribe to. You subscribe to services that have basically the majority of the music that you listen to, whether that whatever genre that is. Um, so and you subscribe to what you're used to, right? So not really much to say on streaming, but you brought up something that kind of made me realize that that brought me to the point that I'm at now, the position that I'm in now, and that's I don't really listen to much new music. I should because I love music, but a lot of the stuff that I listen to, and I notice when Pandora, yes, I still listen to Pandora. I know that's old fashioned now, but even Spotify, the music that was playing, whenever it was set to play randomly, it was playing R&B music from the 90s, right? It was playing blues music from the 70s and the 80s. And I'm like, I have all of this. Why pay a service to play me my music again? You're not going to pull that Steve Jobs trick on me twice to make me pay for music that I already own. You don't fall for the same mistake twice. So that's what brought me to my Plex server and Plex amp and hosted my own music that I've had for years. Now, a lot of it is pretty bad quality, pretty pretty low quality stuff, but still listenable, right? Still listenable. Some songs are just not great anyway. You can't really find blues music in, full HD, surround sound, whatever the highest music quality is now anyway. So um yeah, so that brought me to the point now. There are still some I'm like you, I don't listen to much rap. My son, he's in that phase in his life where that's a major part. And we'll talk about some music and some songs and what I think about it. None of which that I want to take with me or keep with me. But um, yeah, I guess just real quick, we can wrap this up. Where do you see music going as far as portability? Where do you see that going in the future?
I don't know, but I need to share another core memory. Can I share a core memory?
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, because it's not portable, but you're talking about these different things in music. And so when I was growing up, I had a record player
Hmm.
and I had a certain collection of records, some of which I probably shouldn't name, but I had a record that was Bert and Ernie Sing Along
Okay.
because I grew up in the Sesame Street era, right?
How old were you? How old were you? Yeah.
Gal, we hadn't even moved to Nephi yet, and I was still in my other house. So 8, 10, 12, I don't know, something
Okay.
like that. It's called Bert and Ernie Sing Along. Okay.
Mhm.
And it's Bert's taking a bath, and Ernie comes in and pushes the piano into the bathroom. And by the end of the record, the whole Sesame Street gang is in the bathroom doing a sing along, doing different songs. And you've got Oh Susanna and I've been working on the railroad, and all of those kinds of things. It's classic Sesame Street, right? And at one point, I had a friend that had a record player that would convert stuff to digital. And so I gave her all my records and she went through and converted them, including this Sesame Street record, to digital.
Mhm.
So I have on in my Apple Music library, because this is one of those things that I uploaded, right? Back in the day when I could upload my
Yeah.
own stuff and Apple still has it for me. I have the
Really?
digital version of Sesame Street, even though I can go into Apple and it's still there. The actual
Yeah.
the actual recording itself is still there. And actually, I don't think it's in my Apple Music anymore. I think it's um I think it's in my files on my
Yeah.
device. But
But you
here's
have
the
it.
thing. I have it and I know I've got it somewhere. I'm just searching for it right now to see if I can find it, but um yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe I don't have it any. I know I have it somewhere. But here's the
Yeah.
thing. So if I go in and play the Apple version of this, right? If I
Mhm.
go in and play that, I've got it downloaded. I've got it on here as lossless. It lives on my device. But you know what it doesn't have? It doesn't
Mm.
have the initial crackles and the dropping of the needle at the beginning of the record. And when you
Yeah.
flip the record
Yeah.
over, it doesn't have it doing that
Right.
again. And so there is just something ridiculously nostalgic
Yeah.
about listen, I just hit play accidentally. Um, there is something just ridiculously nostalgic about having that record that I had as a kid sitting
Yeah.
available to me to play. So I
Yeah.
know you asked about where it's going in the future. I don't know. Um, I don't know how you improve on what we have right now, right? I don't know what's the next thing. Is it going to be video, virtual reality versions of all the video stuff? It's not what I'm looking to because I'm into listening to the music part of it, right? But I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, we just went, this is a little bit of a sidebar, but if you haven't seen the Michael Jackson movie, it is
Not yet.
phenomenal. It is so good. There's a reason why I think it's approaching $1 billion.
Yeah.
Um, and it is just so, so good. And I think about when he launched Thriller, and I didn't realize this, but they did not want to put it on um, MTV. MTV was refusing to
Really?
air his stuff. But remember, once they did, it was
Yeah.
massive. So, what is going to come along that was like Michael Jackson's Thriller video that and that album and kind of Michael Jackson as a whole, right? Regardless of whether you like his music or
Yeah.
not, there was a shift in music at that point.
Yep.
Taylor Swift in today's world is another shift in
Right.
music, right? And
Right.
shift in how to run
The
a music
iPod coming
business.
along
Yeah.
shifted the whole industry. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I look at some of this stuff is what's going to come along to force something to change. Because I
Yeah.
can get access to every piece of music that I ever could want in a heartbeat right now. What's the
Yeah.
next step? I don't know. But who's going to be the innovator that's going to come in and say, here is here's the next thing, right?
Yeah.
Here's the next big
Yeah.
thing in music. And what is that going to be?
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Well, that was all I had. You anything else you want to share?
No, I don't think so. Now I'm kind of bummed. I can't find the actual file for that. I'll have to go see if I can find it somewhere else. But
Yeah.
oh, you know
I'm
what?
sure
I know
you.
why. I think it's named something else. So I think that's
Oh,
it
you
for
changed the
today.
name.
Yeah, I think I called it Bert and Ernie, not Sesame Street. Yep,
Okay.
there it is. It's awesome because I know it's the right one because there's no album art. There's no album art from
Yeah.
when I uploaded it, and I can't fix that now because I did this so long ago. But there it is, and if I were to play this, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it. I should turn my microphone around.
Yeah.
Okay,
Turn it up.
I'm gonna make some noise right now. Let me crank up. Okay, I'm gonna start it over.
Yankee Doodle went to town riding.
Okay, come on, go back. You hear the scratching at the beginning?
Yep, I heard it. I heard it.
There is nothing like that. So anyway, guys, thanks for
Yeah.
indulging. So cool. We love this retro series. It's just great to go back down memory lane. If nothing else, Jason, we can give copies of all these recordings to our kids and say, this
Yeah.
is what dad's life was like, or grandpa's life was like growing up as a kid. So
Yeah.
thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. Jay, I think you have something special planned for the post show here. You're going to put me on the spot or something. You haven't told me
Ye-
much.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not sure about the name, guys, but stick around for the post show. This one, I'm thinking, I don't know if Greg is going to agree with this play on words, but we're going to call this You Don't Know Ship.
You're
So stick around. It's
you're
going to be a fun one.
you're pushing my limits there. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. All right, Jason, that title is kind of on the
Yeah.
edge for me. I'm you know me. So
Oh, how
let's do
about
this.
I know my ship? How about that? Does that
Yeah,
sound?
I
It
think the
still sounds
first
bad.
one's better, but
Okay. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna take so these are all pop culture ships. So think about from every kind of genre, every kind of medium entertainment and think about some of the most famous vessels that you know. I'm going to
Okay.
give you 3 hints. Originally, I thought I would give you the captain name and you would give me the name of the ship, but I'm like, nope, that's too easy. That's going to be too easy because some of the captains' names are just as big as these ships. So let's start off. Let's do a couple of practice before we get into the actual 5 ships, the 5 questions. You
All
got to
right.
get at least 3 of these ships right for you to officially say, I know my ship. So,
Okay.
so
I'm gonna fail at this. I'll bet you money. So
no. These are pretty good. These are they're pretty popular. So
all right.
ship number 1,
Practice. Is this practice or
hint
is this
number
for real?
1. Yeah, these are the practice. I'm gonna give you 2 practice ships. So
Okay. All
ship
right.
number 1, practice ship number 1. This ship had an encounter at Farpoint Station. Number 2, this ship has many captains to it, but this particular one is probably the most popular one, at least
All
for
right.
us, from what I know of you.
Okay.
Hint number 3. Also, too, you can answer because on
Yeah.
all of these, the
I
third
don't think it's
one
fair.
is the captain.
I think this one should have been a for real one because it's got to be the Enterprise with Picard captaining the
It
Enterprise,
is the
right?
Enterprise. So hint
Yeah.
number 3 in all of these ships is going to be the name of the captain. So if you don't
Okay.
get it by hint number 3, it's going to be the captain, and you should be able to guess it.
Well, I should get
So you're
points for
right.
that one because and wasn't it the D that was the original that he was on that went to Farpoint,
It
or
was the
was
D.
it?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a D. Yeah. So you got that one. Easy one. The next one, let's see. This one may be a little harder. Some of them a little more complicated, but this is practice question number 2. So
Okay.
practice number 2, the ship, hint number 1, it was originally owned by a guy named Cutler Beckett.
Dauntless. Oh.
This hint number 2, this ship was burned after the captain refused to transport slaves.
No. Yep. Nope.
Hint number 3, this was the first ship of Captain Jack Sparrow.
Oh, what was it called? Because it was because it was not the Pearl.
Nope.
Oh, I don't
Well,
know.
kind of. So before the Pearl was burned and sank, it was the Wicked Winch was the name of the ship.
Ah, okay.
So that was the ship that he made the deal with what
Davy
was his name?
Jones.
Was it Barbosa? Davy
Davy
Jones, right?
Jones.
He made yep.
So that he could.
And it was risen and it was the Black Pearl. Okay, so you
Nice.
ready?
I guess I'm not going to do well because you already took the one. If you don't have the Black Pearl in there somewhere, I might be in trouble. So,
No,
all right,
no
let's do
more Black
this.
Pearls. All right,
Oh,
ship number 1. This ship was capable of going 20,000 leagues under the sea. Let me know when you're ready for hint number 2. I'll let you let me know when you're ready for the
now I
second
just
hint.
got to remember the name of it because it's Nemo's ship. And in
Right?
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, it was an awesome.
It was. That was a good depiction of it.
That was a great version of the ship, the
Right.
Nautilus, right?
That's it. There was the Nautilus. You got it.
Because the little one in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was called the Nautiloid, the little ball thing that shot
Right.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, very underrated, outstanding movie.
Yeah. I hate we didn't get a sequel to that. It was some Hollywood ego stuff behind that we didn't get a sequel. But yeah,
Because
I hate that
he
we
was
didn't get a
coming back to
sequel.
life because the grave was shaken at the end, and Quartermain
Yep.
couldn't die because the witch doctor's right there. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really disappointed we didn't get a sequel to that one. So,
All right, I got
Alrighty.
one. Woohoo!
Ship number 2. This one's probably going to be easy. This ship, hint number 1, it had a set of gold dice hanging in the cockpit.
Falcon.
Is that
The
the
Millennium Falcon.
completeness? That's it, the Millennium Falcon. I figured that was going to be easy.
Yeah.
All right, yep. And the third one, the third hint was the captain was Han Solo.
See, you could have thrown a curveball at me and told me the captain was Rey, and it might have been a little bit more difficult because technically she was captaining it in the last one.
Yeah, I could have used that.
Okay.
Well,
Woo-hoo!
you got it.
2.
So 2. All right. Number 3. This ship's fateful trip was only supposed to be a 3-hour tour.
Oh, I got to sing the song.
Let me know if you want hit number 2.
Started from this tropic port aboard this mighty ship. Minnow.
That's it.
The minnow. The minnow would be lost. The minnow.
Yep.
Oh, great show. We got to do classic TV show episodes. I think we're going to have to do some of that.
That's going to be
And
fun.
that one got so weird the way it ended with the basketball team. And I mean, they couldn't find a good way to end the show,
Yeah.
but man, classic.
Well, I don't think they were planning on ending it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they just planned on, so they didn't really write an ending, so they had to come up with something after they got canceled.
Yep.
So hint number 2 for that was, again, me saying a 3-hour tour. Because you remember they repeated during the theme song? All right. This one might be a little tougher because I don't know if this is your genre.
I already got 3, so I already know my stuff.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So they get tougher as they go, but this is ship number 4 is going to be tough. So this ship was a vessel. It was a shipping vessel that got sidetracked when they received a distress call from an unknown planet.
Okay, I'm going to need number 2.
Okay. So one of its crew members got a real bad chest ache after sticking his face in a strange pod on the planet.
Oh, I feel like it's there, but I better get the 3rd clue.
The captain of this ship name was Dallas, and the first mate name was Ripley.
Yep, I don't have this one.
So it's the ship from Alien.
Oh,
the
yeah.
movie
See, I've
Aliens.
never seen the Alien movies.
Okay, I didn't know if that was your genre. So yeah, it's kind of horror sci-fi.
I've seen one, which was Alien versus Predator, partially because it wasn't rated R, because I don't do rated R movies, and all the rest of them were rated R. But that one was not the same style as the other Alien movies. But it still was really cool to have Alien and Predator in the same movie. I don't know if you ever watched that one, but
I watched it. The first one was good. The second one was kind of a letdown. But
I watched
that ship was called the Nostromo. It was a really popular ship, and I see a lot of modelers and stuff. They do models of it, and it's a real popular ship. So it falls in there with the Enterprise and the Nautilus and things like that. So this last one you should get. So this ship was the last best hope to save the summer tourist season from total ruin of Amity Island. So I know that name sounds familiar to you.
I think I know the island. I think I know the movie, but I don't think I know the name of the ship. So give me the next clue.
Okay, this ship had a crew of 3 people, and they knew pretty early on that they were going to need a bigger boat.
Yep, better give me the 3rd one.
The captain
I don't think
was
it's going to matter. Yeah.
The captain was Quinn.
Oh, the only thing that comes to my head is that the big shark took the bite out of this boat.
That's it. You don't remember the name of the boat?
I don't.
It was called the Orca.
Okay.
It was actually named after a whale. But it was a ship from Jaws. And it was actually a real ship. Yeah, it was actually a real ship that they used. Like, people would go and see it, like, you know how they do like movie sets and stuff like that. So it actually belonged to someone. But the Orca.
So I actually don't remember the original Jaws movie. I remember Jaws 3 in 3D because I saw it at the drive-in.
Okay. And that was a bad one.
Yeah.
That was the bad one. You didn't see the first one? First and second?
I probably did at some point, but I don't remember them. I will say that the remake on the giant fish eating people, the Meg movies, are really good.
Yeah.
Both of them. Both of them were really good. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Dorca couldn't stand up to the Meg, so.
I knew 3 of them. I was in the ballpark on the 4th one, and the other one I had no clue. Not bad.
Yep. So, Greg, you can officially say you know your ship.
Yeah, and I'm just not going to say that. So.
All right. All right, folks. Well, that was all. We'll see you next week.